Yeah, it must be tough working in the media. I mean, if I had any discernible talent at all, it's certainly a career path I would have followed, I tell you. Hi, it's me again, and let's have a chat about some more of the BBC salaries, and this time it's not Gary Lineker. This time it's the BBC's second highest earner, Zoe Ball. And she's got another job. Let's have a look, because I'm not having a dig at her, because, you know, if you can make that kind of money, if you're worth that kind of money, good for you, more power to you. I wish I was. But my problem with it is with the BBC paying it. But we'll get into it. Let's have a look. As the highest paid woman at the BBC, Zoe Ball already earns almost £1 million a year. But now the former Strictly star is waltzing her way to another payday after agreeing to host a new show on ITV. So this is a new thing for the BBC. The BBC never used to do this, because back in the day, and not even that long ago, it was only like 10, 15 years ago, something like that, your contract was exclusive with the BBC. You do what the BBC tell you to do, and the BBC tell you to poo, you say how high, all of that. But in an effort to keep its stars, because they kept disappearing off to other channels and stuff, they started opening up the contracts to allow the BBC stars to go work elsewhere. Because Clarkson famously wanted to go and do adverts or go and do other shows for other channels who wanted him when he was in demand at the peak of Top Gear fame. And he couldn't. He wasn't allowed to do it. Even though he wasn't even contracted with the BBC, he was contracted with BBC Studios so that he could hide his salary, which was obviously more than this. But yeah, so Ms. Ball earns about £1 million a year. But it says here she did take a pay cut. Look, it says Miss Ball took a voluntary £380,000 pay cut to remain host of the Radio 2 breakfast show for an additional 2 years, blah, blah, blah. She wasn't the only one to do it. Gary Lineker did also take a voluntary pay cut. And good for them. 380 grand's a lot of money to take in a voluntary pay cut. Isn't it? So, you know, a bit of respect for that. And I am not knocking Zoe Ball at all. Because if you can earn that kind of money, good for you. But what is the BBC doing? I mean, she's a radio presenter and they're paying her, well, they were paying her over £1 million a year. Now it's just under £1 million a year for a radio presenter. Is it really that highly paid a job now? Do the BBC really need to be spending that kind of money to do it? I mean, I haven't got a problem with her going over to ITV. She's got a new show called Mamma Mia or something that she's going to go and do on ITV. And good for her, as long as it doesn't interfere with her BBC work, then there's no problems there. Is there? But yeah, the BBC have had a bit of an exodus of staff. They are losing staff, not just sort of stars, like the talent staff, but they're losing a lot of behind-the-scenes staff as well, where people are moving to other channels and to streaming services and stuff like that. So the BBC had to open up the contracts to try and save the staff that they have. But yeah, £1 million a year just to present the radio. Why couldn't she have presented a quiz show on the BBC? Did the BBC come to her for that? If you're paying her £1 million a year, you want your money's worth, right? So included in your contract, we now want you to present the odd telly show. And you won't mind that because you get a bit more fame out of it. Is it value for money? Is that value for money? I don't know. You know, I thought the BBC did a lot of that because I don't watch BBC, as you know, but it wasn't that long ago that, what was his name from EastEnders? Danny Dyer was presenting a quiz show. Wasn't he? Was he presenting a quiz show on the BBC? I swear I clocked it somewhere when I was around someone's house. And I'm thinking, well, that's a good idea. He's already working for the BBC. Maybe he's doing it as part of his contract with the BBC. So the BBC getting a quiz show presenter for free. That's what they should do. Paddy McGuinness has did have 3 or 4 shows on the BBC. That's getting value for money. But it's also showing that they can't get external people in because they can't afford them. So they've got to get whoever they've got to do more stuff on the BBC. And do you know why all this is a complete mess and we're talking about it? It's because of the telly licence. If it wasn't funded by the television licence fee, they wouldn't have any of these problems because they'd be incentivised to bring in better presenters. They'd be incentivised to make better shows because they've got to make money. So the TV licence fee is damaging the BBC. And it's going to come back and bite them. It is. The days are gone. Media landscape has moved on massively. Massively. And the BBC are already suffering for it. And it's only going to get worse. And it doesn't bother me at all. So what do you reckon about this then? Do you reckon Zoe Ball is worth nearly £1 million a year to present the radio? And do you think maybe the BBC, if she wanted to present something, let her do it on the BBC? They might have got a bit of a discount on the deal. I don't know. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, because that way, hopefully, I'll see you in another video again soon. Ta-da.